Good morning, and thanks for spending time with me. We're doing chapter a day from Home Again, and we are currently on chapter 18. And if you will remember, we just finished dinner, so this is after dinner and later that same evening. So, chapter 18. Why do you have to poke and prod every man you meet? Leif Hansen hissed at her from behind. Susan knew he had followed her out of Poppy's. She could hardly miss the sound of his loping gait as he took steps from Poppy's front porch 2 at a time. Susan pulled her summer weight cardigan tight around her shoulders and kept walking. She didn't answer. She did her best to ignore Leif as he pounded the pavement, trying to catch up to her. It wasn't hard. No matter how fast she tried to walk, the man had a stride that would put Sasquatch to shame. Leif grabbed her arm, trying to stop her momentum, to force her to engage. Susan pulled down away forcefully, breaking his tenuous hold, surprising him with her rage as she stopped and turned on him. He took a step back just in case she took a swing at him, which the least tension in her said was a real possibility. Don't you touch me, Leif Hansen. Don't you raise your voice to me. Don't you pretend you've got any right to put demands on me or my time. Leif kicked at the gravel that spread across the sidewalk. I didn't raise my voice, he said, not bothering to dispute the rest of what Susan spat at him. She sneered at him, eyes damp and glittering in the moonlight. No, you don't raise your voice, do you? It wasn't a question, so Leif didn't try to answer it. You don't yell. You quietly hiss and spit like a snake, a low-down, dirty, poisonous snake, a jealous snake who doesn't fight for what he loves. He just slithers away after striking his prey from a safe distance. Were those tears in her eyes? Leif couldn't tell. He'd never seen Susan as bitingly angry as she was now. He couldn't decipher the exact emotion oozing from her, but there was no denying its combustible nature or the fact that he'd been the spark that set fire to it. Susan Gallagher wasn't immune to him. That gave him more hope than it should have. It emboldened him to use his coaxing voice, a voice she once described as a warm summer breeze caressing her in her arms, making her tingle in the most beautiful of ways. Come on, Susan, let me walk you home. Susan's breath audibly caught in her throat. She was trembling, which Leif took to be a sign that his coaxing voice was working. Feeling surer of himself by the second, he reached out. We could talk, then maybe I could come inside. He let his voice trail off suggestively. Susan's head shot up. There was no mistaking her ire when her lovely eyes shot invisible daggers into his heart. Back off, Leif. Her voice was cold, angry, harsh. Then her shoulders suddenly slumped, and all the fight went out of her. An angry Susan he could deal with. A bone-weary Susan, which is what she looked like now, made Leif want to take her in his arms and whisper everything was going to be all right. The carnal feelings were there, simply tempered by the need to comfort and protect her. God, this woman had him tied up in knots. Always had. Leif feared she always would. Susan took a step back. She straightened her shoulders as her arms gave up their grip on her sweater and fell to her sides. He let his arm fall. Susan, he said, half groan, half plea. She ignored both. I'm tired of this game, Leif. Just leave me alone. You have nothing to offer that I want. The apathy in Susan's voice sliced through him with the efficiency of Damascus steel. That didn't kill him. There was still enough life in him to feel the pain of the deadness in her now tear-free eyes. Leif stood there in the moonlight, feeling the soft breeze off the lake cool the night air, listening to the crickets sing their song of joy to the evening, watching Susan walk away. He stayed there, planted to the ground, long after she disappeared. Never once did she look back, leaving Leaf to wonder if he'd just seen her walk out of his life for good. Well, that went well, Sam said, strolling into the tiny two-bedroom cottage that was, for the time being, Garrett's makeshift home. He eyed the remnants of what looked like a fast food-style plastic-coated paper wrapper. It sat crumpled beside the open laptop on the small kitchen table that would accommodate a family of 4 if 2 of them were small children. Garrett, in an ominous mood by the look of tired concentration on his face, dwarfed the small space. The inside of the cottage was as cheery as the outside, bright white with shades of pastel blues and greens with some brighter yellow thrown in. The art consisted mostly of statements painted on wood. Life is better at the beach. Gone fishing. Sail away, it's good for the soul. Sam's personal favorite, which he was betting Poppy's daughter picked out, was the glitter pink painted sign, "Be yourself, unless you can be a unicorn. Then be a unicorn." The unicorn on the sign had a rainbow horn and a black eye patch. Sam was guessing the eye patch was added later by the decorator for that little bit of extra flair which seemed to settle on the handsome women like an invisible halo. They were all a little too happy and smiley and optimistically satisfied with what they had, for Sam's taste. He rubbed his eyes, suddenly tired. "I've got to get back to the city." Garrett looked up from his screen. "When are you leaving?" "Tomorrow morning. Got an early flight out of General Mitchell." With a look Sam rarely saw from Garrett, wounded, battle-worn even, Garrett asked, "How screwed am I, Sam?" Sam plopped down on the robin's egg blue love seat and put his feet up on the cocktail table made from an old wooden box, the rehab of which consisted of putting a piece of tempered glass on top and securing it with the aid of felt pads that clung to the wood. He really did have to get back to his apartment, where every furnishing was picked by an interior decorator who did work for Architectural Digest. He felt far more himself there. "If you don't get this book finished, very screwed." Garrett took that with a nod of acceptance that wasn't quite defeat, but danced around the edges. "And if I finish it on time?" Sam dropped his feet to the floor and put his elbows on his knees. He was trying to sit up, but the oversized, overstuffed love seat kept threatening to suck him back in. "Just like this place, it'll suck you in if you're not careful." Sam sent a silent prayer of thankfulness to his Maker for giving him a careful disposition. Hell, the only real risk he'd taken in his life or his career had been with Garrett, and he'd gotten damn lucky with that at the beginning. Now the jury was out on whether that short-term risk had been worth it. Garrett didn't know Sam's job was on the line as well as his. If Garrett failed, Sam failed. His agency would drop him faster than a New York minute if he failed to deliver Garrett's work. Sam looked at Garrett and told him the truth. No bullshit. No you-can-do-it optimism. If you deliver the polished manuscript on time, it will still be 9 months late in your publisher's eyes. For that sin alone, this book, Sam nodded toward Garrett's open laptop, incorrectly assuming Garrett was actually working on his manuscript, must be a bestseller, and no amount of "the sequel is rarely as good as the original" will save either of us. Garrett lifted his brows. Sam was blunt with him, but rarely this pessimistic. "And if I manage to eke out a better than the original that manages to make both the USA Today and the Times lists of bestsellers, then am I out of the doghouse? If you manage to do all of that, then no. You're still fucked with your publisher, but you'll get your reputation back." Garrett laughed, the sound both rueful and painful to his ear. "So tell me, O wise one, how do I get unfucked?" You make them a shit ton of money. Tell me you have an idea about how to do that. Until that moment, Sam Hunt had very few ideas on how he and Garrett could go back to being the golden children of their respective employers again. Sam sat back, letting the surprisingly comfortable love seat surround him. I do. You're not going to like it. I don't like anything about this situation, Garrett said, knowing that wasn't true. He wouldn't have chosen the situation which dropped him right next to where Poppy Hanson lived and slept and got ready for bed wearing a boxy, oversized t-shirt with "Sleep is my superpower" written on it. That didn't mean he didn't like the view. Tell me anyway. Sam told him his plan. Garrett thought about all it would entail, the things he could control, and all that would be left to the gods of fate and luck to pull off. It wasn't impossible, the stars aligned every day for people all over the globe, but it was improbable. Improbable and distasteful in a pride-swallowing kind of way. Let's do it. With those 3 words, the bargain was struck in a last-ditch effort to save their careers. Neither of them realized that their fate would be something far different and far more satisfying than what they were setting out to create. And so ends chapter 18. So I just want to take a minute. I know we're close to time here, but to preview my work in progress. And this is going to be a little bit of a departure from what we're currently reading here. It's called Pagan's Promise, and it's more of a thriller, legal thriller with romantic elements thrown in. So I'm excited about it, and I'll tell you more as we progress here. And if you want to go to my website, which is www.mlmcdonaldbooks or www.mlmcdonaldauthor.com, either will get you to the same place. Sign up for my newsletter, and I'll give you more information on what I'm working on as I'm working on it. Well, welcome to a new week. Thank you for spending your time with me, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.